today we have a math expert. She is a teacher and she has a tutoring service. She's going to let you know all about how to make sure that your kids are prepared for upper level math and how they can improve their proficiency in mathematics. Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success. We're so glad to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, so I've been following Alexis and the elevated numbers. She always has really good strategies and tips for parents, and she obviously loves math. So let's start with talking about like what makes math, did you like math always as a child, or like what's your journey? What made you like this subject so much?
So when it comes to my relationship with math, math for the most part came pretty easy to me, but also it was a subject that even when it didn't come easy, I was able to work hard at it and improve. And so reading was my challenge. When I was in elementary school, although I was pulled out for gifted in third grade, I ended up in reading intervention in fifth grade. And from that experience moving forward, I just didn't really like reading. And I think that's what made me gravitate more into math because I felt like I was better at it. And I love that you can get the right answer. Like there is a right answer when it came to reading and writing. It's so subjective that
Yeah.
it was hard for me to get satisfaction out of it when you versus math, where it was like, okay, at least I know I'm right or I'm wrong, and I know I could work towards it. So that's really what gravitated me towards math.
Okay. All right. And so tell us about like your educational journey, like where you went to high school, college, and all of
Awesome.
that.
Yes. So I'm from Long Island, New York. So I went to my local high school, and when I was in high school, I know the major thing I remember from my mom is telling me that I was going to college. She didn't know how or what or anything, but she would just always tell me like, you're going to college, you're going to college. And I
All
know
right.
one, yeah. um, and I really appreciated that. She went to college for some years, community college, and it's actually a funny story. Um, she was she took me to her college class, and she had a math exam, and the teacher let me take the exam the same time as them, and she was like 1 point away from passing, um, and I was able to help her out. Don't tell nobody. Uh, um, but back to my high school story. So yeah, I just remember I went on a college tour in high school. I believe it was the Alphas that was hosting it. And from that time, I knew college was like a reality for me. I went on an HBCU tour, and I
Okay.
ended up at Howard. The best decision I made for myself as a young person. It definitely shaped me into who I am today. And yeah, going from Howard, I was able to have like internships and participate in case studies and things like that. And that really shaped me into the person I am today, and in the way that I serve, my community today is definitely grounded in my experience at Howard.
Okay. So what can you tell us about what caused you like what major did you have and why did you choose that major?
Yeah, so I went to school as an undecided major. And, I don't know if that's very common or not, but I had no clue, not a clue of what I wanted to do. Part of me wanted to be a teacher. And I just remember people saying that teachers didn't make any money. And so, even though my natural instinct was, I want to be a teacher, I knew I couldn't decide on that because they didn't make any money. And so, after my freshman year, I ended up transferring to the School of Business, where I got a scholarship and I became an accounting major. So
Okay.
still math related,
Yes.
um, and it it was I'm like it's funny today that I ended up in business. I ended up becoming a math teacher through Teach for America,
Okay.
and now circling back many years later, I run a tutoring company. So it's mixing my business with my teaching career and
Yeah.
bringing them all to one. Yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit, like taking it back a little bit, you were telling us about taking the math course, like taking that math exam. How old were you when you did that?
I was in middle school. I was maybe sixth grade.
Okay.
And the professor was very surprised that I was able to do the math at that time. And so, I brought it up to the professor, and he gave me feedback telling me that I did it right. And so, when my mom needed that help, I was like, I know it's right. So,
Wow. And so what
yeah.
kind of math did you take in high school? Like what were the math courses that you took?
I was your traditional student. So um, back when I was in school, they called it Math A and Math B.
Okay.
Um, and I took pre-calculus, and yeah, I, I don't, I am not like your math genius, but I'm really good at teaching.
Okay.
Um, and so yeah, that's like my unique gift is like I'm able to help kids who um, they haven't been getting it from year to year to year, and I help them break through those gaps and really start understanding and retaining knowledge, and
Okay.
even go on to pursue math um, after me, but I'm not the one who does those higher level math classes. Just because when I was a kid, it wasn't the path I was on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I like to work with students in middle school so that they have the opportunity to go on whatever path they want to go. Maybe they want to try engineering, and having a certain level of math before college really can set them up for success. And so I like to catch kids in middle school because they do have big goals.
Right.
And if they are avoiding a subject, if they are, feeling already defeated, then by the time they have the opportunity to pursue that, they realize, like, oh, I need math.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you've been hearing or what you know what people say about math that maybe causes them not to like it. What can you tell the parents so they could look out for these things and avoid them?
Well, it's very common for people in general to say, I'm not a math person.
Yeah.
It's just so common, and it you don't hear it as much as excuse me with reading. Um, to say I'm not a reader. People
Mm-hmm.
don't want to say that out loud too much, even
Yes.
though it's true, and but they don't want to say it out loud. But when it comes to math, like a lot of parents will um, kind of make their child feel better about it. because they feel like they weren't good at math either. But the truth is that, you know, everyone's different.
Right.
And math trauma is passed from person to person, whether it's from your teacher. You know, maybe you in elementary school, teachers teach multiple subjects, and maybe they felt like, you know, math wasn't their thing, and they low key every now and again make comments about math.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you tell us like a little bit more about what math trauma is? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm a middle school math teacher, so I can't speak from firsthand experience about, you know, the how that can impact kids. But what I do know is I feel like I couldn't teach reading or science. Um, I wouldn't want to do it. And so I know there are people out there who feel like they don't want to teach math. And I could only imagine what that feels like to have to teach multiple subjects that you're not confident about with 30 kids,
Mm-hmm.
with all of their, um, you know, emotions and, you know, just being in the classroom. I can only imagine what it would feel like for an elementary teacher, but I'm sure it happens. I spoke with other elementary educators who've even admitted to me that they also felt um, similar about teaching mathematics. But yeah, when it comes to in the home, we do use math every day,
Mm-hmm.
and some signs that parents can look out for is if your child feels a lot of pressure that they have to reach for their calculator
Mm-hmm.
instead of taking the time to think. Um, I feel like that's a trauma response. Um,
Okay.
there is like this pressure of like, you know, drilling for math facts, that speed is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And since I don't have the speed, then I need to make up for that. And there's a lot of pressure with that. But yeah, so I would say, like, if you notice you're a teenager, you ask them small things, you know, two times one.
Yeah.
They they know what two times one is. They do. I don't care. They do know. But if you see them reaching for that calculator, that's like a sign that, you know, there's some extra pressure that they feel, and we definitely want to help them feel okay with, you know, taking risk
Yeah.
and things of that nature.
Okay, we're going to pause for a break. 75% of children don't know how to write well. Add that to the fact that so many people out there are trying to silence the voices of those who have been oppressed and trying to prevent them from telling their story. Who's going to tell your story? If your child doesn't know how to write well, I have 2 books to address this issue: The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook, written to make sure that parents know what to do, that educators know what to do to get their children to write better, and just not write better, but love to write. Make sure that your next generation could tell their story and they won't be silenced. Go to fallingforlearning.com today to purchase your set. Okay, so thank you so far. We got so many valuable tips and information from Alexis Guy. Please like and subscribe, and we're going to get into more details about how we can help our kids in math. Okay, so Alexis, tell us about your methods that you use that really help kids start turning around this negative, math experiences.
Absolutely. So what we like to do in our tutoring program is really start with establishing a vision for their life.
Mm.
So with our rapid math results um, framework, we start with students establishing their vision and success habits. You know, kids in school right now, they're not being asked enough like what they want to do,
Hmm.
what they see for their future. And it's important because, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to go down these different pathways, there are
Hmm.
different requirements, there are different habits, there are different skill sets that you want to have in order to set yourself up for success in the long run. And so
Right.
we start there with them establishing their vision and really thinking about how they want to show up in the world. Then we help them establish success habits. And so that looks like studying, right? Learning how to study, um, checking over their work, speaking up, asking for help. Um, all of these things are habits that we develop together, that they value, that they see value in, and then
Hmm.
we help them over 12 weeks um, meet those goals that they set out for themselves. The next thing we do is we diagnose, track, and improve their math skills, right? And so there are some foundational math skills that you really want your child to master
Hmm.
before they head off into high school. A lot of kids right now are scared of fractions. They immediately turn them into decimals. And when I think about when I was a kid, that was something that I did, even though I felt like I was good at math. It wasn't until I started teaching math that I realized the power in fractions and how much easier actually a problem can be for me to solve it in my head
Hmm.
when I keep things in fractions. So these are skills that we don't want them to just brush over and rely on that calculator to do. And yeah, so we diagnose, track, and improve whatever areas they need the most support in. And then we primarily focus on exam prep. So we help students who are heading off into high school and have to take high school
Okay.
placement exams, like the HS um, HSAT or the SSAT, the ISEE, or the SHSAT. A little tongue twister, but these are all exams that students need to get into the high school of their choice. But the thing
Okay.
about these exams are they are timed and they don't get a
Mm.
calculator.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, so they need to have mastered these foundational skills. The test is not hard because you really need to solve the problem in like under a minute. And
Hmm.
so it's not hard, but you need strategy. You need um,
Okay.
a, a strong foundation. And so we help them model exam success through mock exams and tracking their progress on their timing and things like that. So that's our rapid math results framework.
All right. So, can you tell us, like, for parents, like, what are some things that parents might be doing that are causing their child to have a problem in their mathematics learning journey?
Um, a big thing is not accepting where they are. There are
Mm.
learning gaps that they developed over the years. By the time a student is in middle school, in eighth grade, there are a lot of things that could have happened. And, shaming your child for not knowing how to do it is not going
Mm.
to be helpful.
Okay.
Instead, you want to give them that extra time to think. You want to ask them in another way, and help them see that the importance of understanding this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
turning it into money, um, asking them like, okay, if I was paying you for this, and even literally paying them for letting them do the math for their paycheck, right? For their allowance, for their
Okay.
they do things for you because they might short themselves, and that's a lesson that they need to learn. So I would just say like the biggest thing for that parents want to be mindful of is how they address the gaps that they see,
Okay.
because it didn't happen overnight, and so it's not going to change overnight. And so be gentle, get them the support that they need. um but yeah, just be gentle so that they can they can actually grow.
Okay. All right. And so another thing that I was thinking about when you were talking is about maybe some missteps that you made as a teacher over the years that you had to change as you were learning how to be, master mathematics teaching that subject.
Hmm. Yeah, there was a lot, especially in the beginning when I was going based off of the way I was taught math. So there's, like I said, I was quick to turn things into decimals and do the math the long way
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't understand proportions. I didn't understand, um, number lines and things of that nature. And cross multiplying and dividing. I know all of us know about cross multiplying and dividing, but that's actually not the most efficient way for kids to learn that skill, because, like I mentioned earlier, these exams that are timed, you
Mm-hmm.
without a calculator, you're making this huge number, then to divide it. We know long division is a whole nother thing. So there was just like little math, um, ways of teaching math that I just didn't know. And I did graduate school at Relay Graduate School of Education, and they did an excellent job of teaching mathematics. And so I definitely appreciate what I learned there and was able to bring back to my classroom. And yeah, I would say some other things would be timing, you know, not like having the right balance with time things in the classroom,
Okay.
because we can be unrealistic. Like I just said, this test is timed without a calculator. And so, as much as you want to have grace for them to take their time to think, we also have to be preparing them as well
Yeah.
for what's at stake. So, yeah, those are some things that come to mind.
Okay. And so where can, what's the name of your company and where can people find you?
My company's name is Elevated Numbers. You can find us on Instagram at Elevated Numbers, or you can find us on Facebook under my name, Alexis Guy. And yeah, we have a private Facebook group um, for families who are looking for math support as they're preparing for these high school placement exams.
Mm-hmm.
And we have tons of resources in there. And so definitely check us out on Facebook. That's like the main place where we live, and we look forward to showing up more on YouTube. So definitely follow our YouTube as well.
All right, all of that is in the show notes. And as you're thinking about, mathematics, one thing that we hear a lot from parents is that there's like a new way of doing math and they don't understand, so can you break that down a little bit? Why people feel like, oh, this is totally different math, um, at, in opposition to the way they were taught when they were younger.
Hmm. Yeah, I hate that Common Core got a bad rep, and I think it's due to how it showed up in elementary school. But from my experience in middle school, I appreciate the way that math is. So, the thing about Common Core, the thing about the new math is that students shouldn't feel like they're learning anything new from year to year. Every year is just a new layer to what they already know. And so that's the beauty of the new math. Like something that might be familiar to parents is the area model. Have you heard of the area model? Am I getting
No.
too mathy?
No, tell us what it
Okay.
is. You're here. You're our expert. Break it down for us.
Okay, I'm not getting too mathy for you guys, but the area model is something that is visual, and it can be reused from year to year to year. Like even in ninth grade teaching polynomials, we are still using the area model to help kids visualize what is happening. So as much as it might be different for you as a parent, please embrace it and find resources out there to support you in understanding it so you can help your child. But you don't want to create a narrative for them that the way that they're learning is problematic.
Yeah.
It's just you didn't learn it that way, and you and what the way you learned it isn't wrong either. It's just they are going to learn the standard algorithm, which is the way that we were taught. They
Right.
learn that after they learn the conceptual. And yeah, we just have to embrace it and make sure we're not creating any extra um, noise for the kids who are learning it at the time. So if you have any questions about middle school math, I'm your person. But if you have questions about elementary, I can still support and point you in the right direction, because I know at the elementary level, that's when parents are most involved. That's when
Yes.
they really, are sitting with their child to do their homework. And so I can only imagine how frustrating it is. But just know it is going to be helpful for them in the long run.
And I just want to highlight what you're saying. You're saying now they more focus on conceptual learning when it comes to math rather than the algorithm. Can you break that down a little bit for the listeners so they'll understand like conceptual versus algorithm?
Yes. So let's take addition. Addition, we carry the one, right?
Hmm.
When you're adding. And in elementary school, they learn a few different methods. And for one, it helps them reason. So I've seen some people who are not able to estimate
Mm.
because they're just so carried away with, okay, I carried one. If they don't have paper and pencil, they're not going to get nowhere near the answer. Okay. But with these Common Core methods or new math methods, they should be able to visualize what is happening when they're adding, right? So
Right.
100 plus 60, like they're able to break it apart and put
Hmm.
it back together in their mind versus, oh, I carried a one. Sometimes it's hard to visualize that in your mind as much as breaking it apart is, right?
Okay.
Also, it really emphasizes the place value chart. The place value chart is essential in students understanding just the value of each place of value, right? So the ones, the tens, the hundreds. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that right there. I'm a middle school math teacher, but it it really comes down to, like I said, my students right now on one section of their exam, they get 30 minutes to do 52 questions, right? So
Well,
they need to estimate in their head. They need to know that, 10% of 60 plus 4 is like, they have to do these things in their head.
yeah.
And having that,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Ooh, something happened. Okay. I don't know what that is.
Mhm.
Okay. Something happened. I couldn't hear you, the last part.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
yeah. I don't know if you want me to repeat it, but
yes,
just
please do.
okay. So having the conceptual understanding supports students in having that level of speed and automaticity to,
Okay.
then show up on these upper level exams. And so, we don't want to brush past it. We got to embrace it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Please check out Alexis Guy and Elevated Numbers. All the links are in the show notes. We really appreciate you. Um, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.